but today we want to focus on iron. And anemia is when the blood doesn't have enough red blood cells and hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein that is needed to carry the oxygen everywhere in the body. The prevalence of anemia in the United States, it varies depending on the population or the groups. Groups that see more of a prevalence are your toddlers, and your toddlers are 12 to 36 months, and that's about 9%. Women of childbearing age, 10%, and your Black and Mexican women, 20% prevalence. Non-Hispanic white women, anywhere from 9 to 12%. Iron deficient anemia or microcytic anemia, and we say microcytic, micro being small red blood cells. So if the normal size is here, your red blood cells or your anemic blood cells only get to about this level or this height. Let's cover some of the signs of iron deficiency. It could be fatigue or pale skin, shortness of breath, altered sense of taste, hair loss, headaches, problem concentrating or thinking, feeling lightheaded or dizzy, brittle nails, and advanced stages, the spoon-shaped nails, sore or swollen tongue are just some of the signs of not getting enough iron. So when you go to your doctor's office or you're getting a lab report, they want to know if you're anemic. They may take your hemoglobin. And so the normal range for a hemoglobin is this. For infants, it's 9.5 to 13 grams per deciliter. 6 months to 1 year, it's 9.5 to 14 grams per deciliter. 1 to your 6-year-olds, it's 9.5 to 14 grams per deciliter. 6 to 18-year-olds, it's 10 to 15.5 grams per deciliter. For men, it's 3.5 to 17.5 grams per deciliter, and women, it's 14 to 24 grams per deciliter. And iron is part of the hemoglobin, and it is an essential mineral. We're talking about iron, and it is so interesting. There's so many different factors. But when it comes to iron, we also have to look at how much do we absorb. So we have our two different categories. You have heme iron, which mainly comes from animal products, meat, poultry, fish, and particularly those organ meats. You can get a lot of iron. But so you have the heme iron, and then you have your non-heme iron, which comes from your plant sources. What do they say about your heme iron? Well, we know it's more absorbable, about anywhere from 25% to 30% it is absorbed. We also know that heme iron can catalyze endogenous, or that means growing from within, a formation called nitrogen nitroso compounds, which are potent carcinogens. According to the National Library of Medicine, heme iron, that's the iron coming from meat, can be an important dietary risk factor for esophageal and stomach cancer. Non-heme iron, which primarily comes from plant sources, is not as absorbable. You only get about 2 to 10% absorption. So why is that with the non-heme iron? Well, in your non-heme iron, there are a lot of what I would call iron robbers. So let's talk about some of those iron robbers. But actually, there are substances that are found in a number of foods that can decrease your iron absorption. One are phytates. And phytates are compounds that are present in whole grains, legumes, nuts, and they bind to the iron to decrease its absorption. Another iron robber are tannins. And tannins are found in tea, coffee, and some fruits like pomegranates, berries, grapes, nuts, legumes, and you also have oxalates. And oxalates are found in your leafy vegetables. and they interfere with iron absorption by forming an insoluble complex, and that insoluble complex that is formed binds with the iron, making it not as available. And also you have zinc and copper, another iron robber. Well, it makes me think, well, why do we have these iron robbers when iron is an essential mineral needed to form healthy red blood cells so that we won't be anemic? Well, we don't want a lot of iron absorption because then that would lead to a toxicity. But if you're not taking in enough iron, your body is going to work hard to try to get to absorb as much as possible because you need it. We know with your non-heme iron, since you have these iron robbers, but you also have iron absorbers that can counter that effect. Our vitamin C, which is that powerful antioxidant. If you're taking in iron along with some vitamin C foods, that could enhance the absorption. Organic acids, such as citric acid and amino acids, can also help with the absorption. Then you have erythrobic acid, which is a potent enhancer of non-heme iron. And it is a structurally similar molecule to vitamin C. It's an isomer. And there's another thing that you can do, and I do it all the time. Cook your food in a black iron skillet. And so if you put some tomato sauce, which is high in vitamin C, and anything you cook in a black iron skillet, that also can help. So now you have it. You have, once again, you have your robbers and then you have your helpers. And so they kind of balance it out. So our takeaway is we need to eat to keep our bodies strong. We need to make sure that we are intentional about certain choices. Beware of the food sources that you can get so that you don't get anemic, but know that there are certain things that you can do to help with this absorption. We are intricately made, and the more we learn about what good we can do for our bodies, the better we can achieve good living. Well, I'm Das. I'm out, but I look forward to seeing you next show.